Hello and welcome to another interesting English language class. My name is Precious Balogun. Our theme for today is Oracy Skills Spoken English. And our topic is words of 4 syllables stressed on first, second, or third syllables. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to pronounce words of 4 syllables correctly with the right stress placement. And lastly, distinguish between words of varied syllables. It is important to note that English words are divided or made up of 1 or more syllables. For example, we have the word dog, which is made up of just 1 syllable. And then we have table, made up of 2 syllables, te and b. Next, we have intensive, made up of 3 syllables, intensive. Next, we have computation, made up of 4 syllables. Also, we have dilapidated, made up of 5 syllables. Now, you may wonder what syllables are. Syllables are single pronounceable units of a word. For example, I gave you table. Table has 2 syllables, and te is a single pronounceable unit, the same as bull, which makes up a word. Going on, note that syllables are made up of vowel sounds or vowel sounds and 1 or more consonant sounds. Now let's look at examples to explain this better. The first example we have here is I. I is a 1-syllable word, and it is made up of just a vowel sound. Actually, this vowel sound is a diphthong. The next word we have is here. Here is made up of a consonant sound and a vowel sound. The next word we have here is television. The word television is made up of 4 syllables. The first syllable, tel, is made up of a consonant sound, a vowel sound, and a consonant sound. The next syllable is made up of just a vowel sound. The next syllable is made up of a consonant sound and a vowel sound. And the last syllable is made up of a consonant sound, a vowel sound which is silent, and a consonant sound. But in this case, the consonant sound is now a syllabic consonant. From these, you can see that a syllable is made up of just a vowel sound or a vowel sound and some consonant sounds or a consonant sound. Now, let's see more on syllables. Remember we said that a word is made up of 1 or 2 syllables. So if we have a word that has just 1 syllable, it is called a monosyllabic word. But if we have a word made up of 2 syllables, it is called a bisyllabic or disyllabic word. And also, if we have a word made up of 3 or more syllables, it is called a polysyllabic word. Now, let's take a look at some examples. For the monosyllabic words, we have bus, sun, door, head, tongue, school, rhythm, and sweep. All these words have just 1 syllable. For the bisyllabic words, we have women, effect, stupid, complex, purpose, practice, response, and daughter. Notice that these words have 2 syllables. For trisyllabic words, we have Africa, creator, element, tomorrow, dramatic, advocate, adequate, and interval. You notice that these words have 3 syllables. Remember we said that polysyllabic words are made up of 4 or more syllables. So we have the word equality, which has 4 syllables. We have personification, which has 6 syllables. We have military, which has 4 syllables. We have inferiority, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 syllables. Next, we have kilometer, which has 4 syllables. Also, we have syllabification, which is made up of 6 syllables. We also have the word fundamentally, which is made up of 5 syllables. And lastly, we have efficacy, which is made up of 4 syllables. I'm sure from these examples, the next time you pronounce a word, you can tell how many syllables the word carries. Today, our focus will be on 4-syllable words. These words are also known as quadrasyllabic words or tetrasyllabic words. Let's take a look at some examples. We have legislation, agriculture, copulation, obligation, communicate, ceremony, authority, application, certificate, activity, ability, associate, disappointment, hypothesis, interior, historian, executive, and many more. Another important aspect of pronouncing words is stress and stress placement. What is stress? Stress is the emphasis placed on a particular syllable in a word. For example, the word table. The stress falls on the first syllable. Other examples are agree. The stress falls on gree. Next, we have good, which is just made up of 1 syllable. The next one we have is photographer. The stress is on toe. Also, we have beautiful. The stress is on beau. And lastly, we have begin. The stress is on gin. From these examples, you will notice that the stressed syllable is pronounced longer and louder than other syllables in a word. Now, let's go on to see more on the words of 4 syllables. In addition, quadrasyllabic words can be stressed on the first, second, third, or fourth syllables. Let's take a look at some examples. For words stressed on the first syllable, we have applicable, honorable, and accurately. You would notice that the first syllables of these words are pronounced longer and louder than the other syllables. Next, for words that have their stress on the second syllable, we have exaggerate, we have participate, and lastly, we have advertisement. Also, you would notice that the second syllables of these words are pronounced longer and louder. Also, words that are stressed on the third syllable are application, independent, and exhibition. And lastly, for words stressed on the fourth syllable, we have dedicatee, examinee, and interviewee. Moving on, let's look at some rules that govern the stress placement on 4-syllable words. But before we go on, let's take a look at more examples of words stressed on the first syllable. We have critically, characterize, graphically, dictionary, differently, beautifully, marvelously, and ordinary. Now we have some other words, controversy and television. Now these words are stressed like these by native English speakers. Now you may be wondering, don't we have rules for words of 4 syllables stressed on their first syllable? No, we don't. but we can see that in the second and the third syllables. Now let's take a look at the rule that we have for 4-syllable words stressed on the second syllable. When we have words of 4 syllables that end with cy, ty, phy, gy, or al, they are stressed on their second syllable. Let's start with words that end with cy. First, we have efficacy. Next, we have redundancy. Also, we have occupancy. Moving on, we have supremacy. And lastly, for words of 4 syllables that end with cy, we have democracy. For words that end with ty, we have community, minority, mortality, facility, and identity. Next, words that end with phy, we have philosophy, biography, photography, epigraphy, and calligraphy. Now let's look at words that end with gy. We have technology, biology, psychology, mythology, theology, chronology, and lastly, we have morphology. And lastly, we have words that end with al. We have professional, rhetorical, congressional, recessional, processional, confessional, and lastly, we have concessional. Having gone through words of 4 syllables stressed on the second syllable, let's look at words of 4 syllables stressed on the third syllable. Words of 4 syllables that end with tion, sion, and ic are stressed on their third syllable. Examples of words that end with tion, we have information, occupation, invitation, motivation, and illustration. Words that end with sion, we have comprehension, subdivision, hypertension, supervision, and intercession. And lastly, we have words that end with ic. We have bureaucratic, democratic, realistic, polytechnic, and lastly, we have electronic. I'm sure you've had an interesting time learning about the 4-syllable words and their stress patterns. Now, let's take a listening practice. Let's listen for words that have 4 syllables. Sentence 1. My father is the supervisor in charge of the editing. Sentence 2. Tribalism should not be encouraged in a country. Sentence 3. Dr. Okeke is a Nigerian ambassador in the United States of America. Sentence 4. Education is for all. And finally, sentence 5. Fortunately, they won the football match. All the highlighted words are 4-syllabic words. We have supervisor, tribalism, ambassador, education, and fortunately. You can also find out where the stress is placed on these words. Now we've come to the end of this class. But before we go, let's take a quick summary of all we've learnt so far. We've learnt that English words are made up of 1 or more syllables. We also learnt that a syllable is a single pronounceable unit of a word. Going on, we also learnt that words of 4 syllables are also known as quadrisyllabic words. Lastly, we learnt that quadrisyllabic words can either be stressed on the first, second, third, or fourth syllable. I'm sure it has been an interesting class. Now, let's answer some test questions. Question 1. Which of the following words is a quadrisyllabic word? A. Syllabic. B. Agriculture. C. Conclusion. Or D. family. The correct answer is B, agriculture. Question 2. On what syllable can we find the stress in the word vegetable? A, first syllable. B, second syllable. C, third syllable. Or D, fourth syllable. The correct answer is A, first syllable. It's pronounced vegetable. I'm sure with all these, you can tell a word made up of 4 syllables. Until we meet again in our next class, see you and bye.